Um, there's a folk tale that circulates among anthropologists, and I'm on a quest to actually authenticate it, but they all agree that it is true. And it's a French anthropologist who spent about nearly 4 decades working with one tribe in Africa, and when he was decorated by the French government, he saw fit to invite the chief, who he grew up with, similar sort of age, to the award ceremony. And after all the formalities, and he thanked the chief, and they were sitting next to each other, and the chief turned to him and put his hand on his arm like this, and he said, we grew up together. You came to us in your early 20s, and I was in my early 20s. How long has it been? 40, 45 years? Now I can really tell you what's going on. The joke is on the anthropologist, obviously, but what I actually take from it is our perception. So after a whole body of knowledge, and people are actually not quite sure whether this was Claude Lévi-Strauss or somebody else. I spend my time, apart from teaching and running a master's degree at the University of Copenhagen, I spend my time gallivanting around the world doing what is agreed upon now to be called capacity development for disaster risk reduction. And time again, what I come up with is the issue of meaning. We give meaning to everything. The Viktor Frankl's work, Man's Search for Meaning, there isn't anything in the world, an event, an object, anything, that has a universal meaning. Meaning is given, and it's given by the individual, and it's collectively given by a community, if there is such a thing as a community. How much of that actually features in our work on disasters? We think we know it. We know in vulnerability studies, we know a little bit about risk trade-offs. We can see that. We can see why people live where they live. We can look at livelihoods. We can look at opportunities. But that's still quite superficial. There are much deeper meanings embedded in societies. The 4 decades of an anthropologist, and he still couldn't get to that. I don't think we can inhabit someone else's reality either. The very first thing that comes up in my class at Copenhagen when a student uses the word reality, and they say the reality is, and I say, hold on just a second. Whose reality? Your reality? His reality? Government realities? Donor agency reality? And we need to question that. And I think this is what's so important about the report, and this what comes up time and time again. So we need to challenge our perception. We need to challenge our perception in terms of what is risk for realities that we think we understand, but we don't really fully understand. How much time do we spend doing this? How much does it feature in our programming methods? How much does it feature in our assessment methods? And before we go sort of hurtling down a route very fast into yet another mainstreaming, so we've done it with gender, we've done it with climate, and I can see somewhere sort of in the horizon there, mainstreaming culture into development or DRR programs. Just pull the handbrake a little bit. I've got a sort of 6 points here that we need to look at first. Time is one of them. How much time we allow for understanding first. Who does that? Who does these assessments? Do we do it on behalf of who we work with, or do they? Who's us? Who's them? All of this needs to come up for questioning. Our definitions of participation, that's something else that we need to heavily question. And we had an informal meeting before the launch, and we were just talking about how we're going to run this event. And in the course of the discussion, I mentioned that there's a very famous placard from the 1968 student movement in Paris. And for those who speak French, it reads, Je participe, tu participes, il profite. The modalities of engagement that we have, whether it's in development or in risk reduction, and more importantly, expectations and results. How much do we expect? What kind of expectations we had in what time frame for issues that are deeply, deeply cultural, beyond the what we call risk trade-offs, the assessment methods that we use, and the implications of all of this on programming. We're not quite there yet. This is the beginning, part of it. There is a body of knowledge, but it's scattered all over the place. What we really need is the disaster community, the climate community, the development community to get out of their comfort zone and to start not just reading, but to start working with anthropologists, sociologists, behavioral economists, and the whole list that was in the report. We really do not need to reinvent the wheel. We just really need to learn how to work with other disciplines and bring that on board so that we don't spend the next 10 years again, like the IDMDR, for example, to find out at the end of it that, oh, no, we focused too much on hazards and we forgot vulnerabilities. So I very much welcome the report. I was privileged to have been asked by Terry and the authors to review some of it when it was still in the making, and I'm privileged to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mo.